In 2021, Maria Ressa stood on the world stage as she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize, a moment that not only recognized her relentless fight for press freedom, but also highlighted the increasing dangers faced by journalists worldwide. But what does it truly mean to stand up against oppressive forces in the digital age? And how has technology, once a beacon of progress, become a weapon against democracy itself? The answers lie in the very fabric of our interconnected world. Digital platforms, initially designed to bridge communities, have been manipulated to amplify fear, misinformation, and division. If you enjoy content that helps you grow spiritually, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our community for more inspiration. Let's get started. This has created an ecosystem where truth is constantly under siege, and those who dare to uphold it, like Maria Ressa, are met with relentless attacks. As the co-founder and CEO of Rappler, the Philippines' leading digital news platform, she has endured years of political persecution under the Duterte administration. Arrested multiple times, targeted by 100 hate messages per hour, and forced to navigate a system designed to silence her, Maria has become a symbol of defiance in the fight for press freedom. Her presence at the Vatican, speaking in a space historically associated with profound reflection and global unity, underscores the urgency of her message. She draws a striking parallel between our modern era and the events of 80 years ago, when new technologies contributed to the rise of fascism. Back then, propaganda was a powerful force that shaped entire societies. Today, the battle is fought not just in newspapers or on radio waves, but in the very algorithms that dictate what billions of people see, believe, and act upon. She describes the current situation as an atom bomb in our information ecosystem. Unlike physical wars, this battle is fought at a psychological level, manipulating emotions, fueling hatred, and dismantling trust in democratic institutions. Social media, once heralded as a tool for connection, has instead enabled mob rule, rewarding extremism while suppressing reasoned discourse. Maria knows this firsthand. Her own government systematically discredited her, turning online narratives into real-world consequences. The hashtag #ArrestMariaRessa trended online for 2 years before her first actual arrest, proving how digital propaganda can precondition a society to accept repression. The justice system became another tool of suppression, issuing 10 arrest warrants against her in just over a year. Yet, instead of retreating, she adapted. She even developed a workflow for posting bail, recognizing that resilience would be her greatest weapon. Now, nearly a decade into this struggle, she stands as living proof of both the fragility and the resilience of democracy. To be present at this event, she had to petition the Philippine Supreme Court for permission to travel, a stark reminder of how easily fundamental rights can be stripped away. Maria Ressa has long warned that the forces threatening democracy are not confined to one country. They are global, infiltrating even the most established political systems. The erosion of truth, once a slow and subtle process, has accelerated with the rise of digital authoritarianism, a system in which misinformation is weaponized, facts are distorted, and fear is manipulated at scale. The truth is under attack right now, and constant waves of false information are destroying the very foundations of democracy. In times like these, understanding how digital manipulation works is no longer optional. It's essential. This is exactly what The Secret of Jesus' Apparitions offers, a path to clarity and peace through his revelations. This ebook goes into his prophecies and offers insight into what lies ahead. It's available for free in the pinned comment. Grab it now before the edition's gone. She has witnessed firsthand how these tactics devastated the Philippines, but what is even more alarming is their spread to nations once considered pillars of democracy. The chaotic polarization of American politics, she argues, is just another symptom of the same disease. The mechanisms that destabilized her homeland, disinformation campaigns, algorithmic manipulation, and the deliberate exploitation of human emotions, have now taken root in governments worldwide. The Internet was once seen as a democratizing force, a place where information could flow freely and empower citizens. But today, social media no longer serves as a neutral space. Instead, it has been engineered to prioritize division over unity, amplifying the most extreme voices while suppressing critical thinking and dialogue. Studies have confirmed that falsehoods travel faster than the truth, infecting public discourse like a virus. With enough repetition, lies become indistinguishable from reality. Maria describes this digital transformation in stark terms, a hijacking of human consciousness. The old metaphor of an angel and a devil whispering on each shoulder is no longer just a moral lesson. It is now a matter of survival. Except today, the angel has been shoved off entirely, leaving only the devil with a direct connection to people's deepest instincts. Fear and outrage spread unchecked, ensuring that people react rather than reflect. This is not an accident, nor is it an unfortunate side effect of innovation. It is a deliberate strategy. The business model of big tech thrives on conflict, outrage, and tribalism because these emotions generate engagement, and engagement fuels profit. The more divided societies become, the more they click, share, and argue. The algorithms don't just reflect human nature, they actively reshape it, exploiting psychological vulnerabilities to drive people toward more extreme reactionary behaviors. Even more disturbing is the real-world impact. What happens online does not stay online. The rise of authoritarian leaders, the collapse of trust in institutions, and the growing hostility between political factions are not spontaneous. They are the result of digital landscapes designed to manipulate perception and alter behavior. The very notion of democracy hinges on a shared reality. But what happens when reality itself is fractured beyond recognition? The consequences are already visible. As of last year, 71% of the global population is living under some form of authoritarian rule. These regimes, once reliant on brute force, now have a more powerful tool at their disposal: control over information itself. If truth can be rewritten at will, then public perception, elections, and even historical narratives can be shaped to serve those in power. Democracy is unraveling, not through military coups or forceful takeovers, but through the very mechanisms that once upheld it: elections, public discourse, and media accountability. The loss of truth has not only broken up societies, but it has also led to the rise of leaders who are not liberal, even though they were voted democratically, but are breaking democratic rules from the inside. When facts become malleable, so does the foundation upon which free elections stand. The system appears intact, but beneath the surface, it is rotting away. Access to reliable information is more critical than ever. If you want to understand the forces shaping our world, don't miss this opportunity. Only a few copies of the ebook remain. Check the first pinned comment before they're gone. The consequences of this distortion are now becoming undeniable. For the first time, a nation has invalidated an election due to foreign interference. In Romania, authorities recognized the extent of Russian disinformation campaigns and took decisive action to protect the legitimacy of their democracy. But what if similar scrutiny had been applied elsewhere? What if the UK had examined the role of online manipulation in Brexit? or if the United States had acknowledged the scale of digital interference in 2016. The reluctance to confront these realities has allowed impunity to thrive, setting dangerous precedents for future elections worldwide. Meanwhile, the response to electoral manipulation has sparked global resistance. Protests have erupted in Mozambique, Venezuela, and Georgia, where mass demonstrations against fraudulent elections have escalated from periodic outbursts to daily mobilizations. Journalists and activists have become prime targets, enduring arrests, physical assaults, and state-sponsored crackdowns designed to silence dissent. Some have risked their lives in the name of truth, like Mizia Amaglobeli, who now enters her 14th day of a hunger strike from behind bars, refusing to be complicit through silence. Technology, once celebrated as a force for progress, has become a weapon. It no longer merely reflects society, but actively shapes it, amplifying chaos and division. When Mark Zuckerberg famously declared, "Move fast, break things," the unspoken reality was that democracy itself was among the casualties. The recent decision by Facebook to abandon fact-checking initiatives only accelerates this decline. Without safeguards, social media platforms function like an unchecked wildfire, fueling political instability, radicalization, and violence at an unprecedented scale. The consequences are not theoretical. They manifest in bloodshed. The United Nations confirmed that Facebook played a direct role in enabling genocide in Myanmar, a revelation that should have served as a global reckoning. Yet, accountability remains elusive. Online violence is not confined to digital spaces. It spills onto streets, fueling real-world conflicts. From Gaza to Ukraine, from Sudan to Ethiopia, disinformation campaigns do not simply mislead, they lay the groundwork for war. The battlefield is no longer just in distant war zones. It is in the algorithms, in the targeted manipulation of public sentiment, and in the dismantling of truth itself. The question remains, how much more destruction must unfold before those in power acknowledge the cost of inaction? The goal is not simply to persuade, but to sow confusion, attack trust, and paralyze action. When reality itself becomes contested, people lose the ability to organize, to resist, or even to distinguish between truth and propaganda. Two of the most exploited fault lines in society, gender and race, are being systematically weaponized. Across cultures and political landscapes, these deep-seated divisions are exacerbated, often under the guise of debates about immigration, economic instability, or national identity. But at their core, they reflect a broader effort to divide, marginalize, and control. Extremist ideologies, once confined to the fringes, have embedded themselves into legal and political systems, reshaping constitutions and policies under narratives that mask their true intent. Journalists, activists, and independent media have long been on the front lines of this battle. However, relying on existing social media platforms, ones designed to amplify outrage rather than facilitate genuine discourse, is no longer viable. Recognizing this, Rappler took a different approach. Frustrated with big tech's empty promises, they embarked on an ambitious project to reclaim the digital space. By developing an open-source, decentralized platform, they created a space where authentic conversations could thrive without being exploited for profit or power. In a time when truth is being rewritten in real time, staying informed is the most powerful tool we have. Get your copy of this essential ebook while it's still available. Quantities are running out fast. This effort is not just about providing an alternative, it is about survival. The ability to share factual, unfiltered information is now a matter of resistance. Countries that prioritize data privacy and democratic integrity, such as France and Germany, have already integrated similar decentralized systems into their public infrastructure. The goal is to expand this model, to form a coalition of independent news organizations worldwide, ensuring that journalism remains a pillar of accountability rather than a casualty of digital warfare. The Vatican, a place of serious spiritual reflection, serves as an appropriate backdrop for a critical question about the morality of technology. When lies are rewarded at an unprecedented scale, what happens to a society built on shared values? Maria Ressa recalls her first meeting with Pope Francis, where she posed a fundamental truth. The business model of big tech directly contradicts the most basic ethical principles. The power wielded by those controlling these digital platforms is godlike in scope, yet entirely human in wisdom. It is an empire built not on compassion, but on arrogance, profit, and a refusal to acknowledge responsibility. Their unchecked influence has led to a world increasingly shaped by deception, where truth is buried beneath a flood of misinformation. Against this, an alternative vision emerges, one that is rooted in shared humanity rather than division. The South African philosophy of Ubuntu, encapsulated in the phrase, "I am because we are," offers a direct challenge to the individualism and tribalism fueled by digital manipulation. It reminds us that no struggle exists in isolation. When truth is attacked in one corner of the world, the consequences ripple outward, affecting all. The urgency of this moment demands action. Society's cracks won't fix themselves, and letting them get worse only helps those who make money off of conflict. Collaboration isn't just a good idea, it's a must. The tactics used to manipulate public perception rely on isolation, distrust, and fragmentation, pitting people against one another. The only antidote is to proactively build bridges before these fractures become irreversible. Communities must reinforce trust and foster connections, creating a collective resistance against disinformation and manipulation. Truth must also be spoken with unwavering moral clarity. The power of falsehoods lies in their ability to distort reality, muddying the waters until silence becomes complicity. If people don't speak out, these problems, like structural discrimination, economic injustice, or the weakening of political structures, can get worse without being stopped. History has repeatedly shown that indifference enables oppression. Those in power, governments, media corporations, and big tech, must be held accountable for the damage inflicted on public discourse. Protecting the most vulnerable is an essential step in this fight. Journalists, activists, and human rights defenders are often the first to face retaliation, serving as warning signs of deeper societal decay. When these voices are silenced, it signals a broader crackdown on freedom and dissent. The erasure of marginalized communities, whether through legislation, propaganda, or cultural narratives, must be resisted. Every attack on truth is an attack on the fabric of democracy itself. The fight against disinformation starts with awareness. If you haven't secured your copy of the ebook yet, act now. Limited copies left. Find it in the first pinned comment. Solidarity is a powerful force. A single voice may be drowned out, but a collective movement cannot be ignored. When communities rally behind those who are persecuted, immigrants, religious minorities, LGBTQ+ individuals, and others targeted by systemic discrimination, they create a protective barrier against the normalization of hate. The normalization of oppression happens gradually, often disguised as legal or social reforms. By recognizing these patterns early, collective action can prevent them from taking root. If this message makes you think, and you feel it connects with you, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Also, if you really want to support our work and help us keep creating valuable content, consider giving us a super thanks. Join this amazing community and don't miss any news. Power is not reserved for the privileged or the influential. The ability to create meaningful change exists within every individual willing to challenge the status quo. Hope is not a passive force. It is a deliberate choice, a relentless and strategic act of defiance against apathy. The most impactful transformations in history were not initiated by those seeking comfort, but by those who refused to accept injustice as inevitable. Every action taken today shapes the future narrative of this moment. Decades from now, people will look back and ask, did we do everything we could? The answer depends on the choices made now. The past and the future are linked in a continuous cycle, shaped by both the stories we carry and the ones we choose to write.